everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Legacy Leaders. This morning, Scott McMeans here. I am joined by Peter Baka from 360 Marketing. We're going to talk a lot about his history, what he did to bring 360 Marketing to life, and get some insights from Pete as he's built his business and over the course of so many years of doing it successfully, what he's learned that you can learn as well. So, as we get into this, I'm going to turn the microphone and camera over to Pete so he can introduce himself, tell us his story, and tell us a little bit about 360 Marketing. So, Pete, the microphone and camera are yours. Introduce yourself to the audience.
All right, great. Thank you. Appreciate it, Scott. Again, as I said, my name is Pete Baka. I started 360 Marketing here about 10 years ago now. So kind of survived through a bunch of interesting things over the years, as you guys can imagine. But I've been doing marketing for a good part of 30 years. Graduated from Ohio University in 92 and got my master's at Ball and Walls in 96 and had a whole bunch of different marketing jobs throughout my career. I've worked for some large companies, some small companies, some family-owned businesses and kind of got to the point where as I matured in my career, felt like I could do more things on my own, or at least with the team that a lot of these big agencies were doing, but weren't doing as well as I thought they should be. So about 10 years ago, we started the business, and as you say, the rest is history. Basically, our business is a small business. We work with a group of folks here that have specialties in certain areas. I have a video team, I have web developers, I have graphic designers, I have content developers, I have some PR folks within crisis communication as well, and we do digital marketing and really a full service marketing agency. As I said, I've been doing this for 10 years and have a variety of different type of customers. We are really a B2B marketing agency, if you will. That's where we shine. That's where a lot of my experience comes in. So if you're an industrial company, maybe industrial distributor, maybe a manufacturer, maybe a service provider, maybe you're offering something in financial or legal or something like that. We've got a lot of experience in those areas, but we certainly have clients in the consumer market that deal directly with consumer purchases. Specifically, home improvement is a large area for us, and also have a handful of nonprofits that we work with that work with disadvantaged folks in the area. So, yeah, wide variety of background here, and great team, and we're real. We're small, but we're powerful. We like to say that we're small but mighty, and we have a lot of expertise in specific areas. So that allows us to be nimble and allows us to be affordable.
Well, okay. I love the idea that you're small and mighty. You have the nimble nature of a small business to take care of things. What is it? Would those be the best ways to describe why you're so successful? Because you are small and you can take care of things in a very quick way. How would you describe the level of success or uniqueness that is 360 marketing?
I love the term uniqueness, and that's one thing that we always try to pry out of our customers is that uniqueness factor. But to be honest, small business has its ups and downs. Sometimes you're lean, sometimes you're doing well and riding high. So we kind of ebb and flow with the different workflows. But what helps us be successful is our relationship with our clients. There's no doubt. I take a lot of pride in being developing a relationship with a client so that they trust us, so that they know what to expect. There's no surprises, and I am a big documenter and a big communicator. So I don't ever want a customer telling us like, "Hey, I didn't know what you were working on," or "I didn't know you were doing this or doing that." That's a big no-no in my area. I almost over communicate. So we have regular scheduled meetings. We do a lot of documentation, a lot of emails. So no one has to wonder what we're working on. And I think that has a big part of this. I've worked with a lot of large agencies in the past, and you're like, I haven't heard from them in a while. What are they working on? And you still get the invoices, but you're not sure exactly what's going on. So over communicating is really a big part of what our success is. And, you just got to stay in touch and stay on top of projects. We are the to-do list. I put it that way. Um, you know, if you leave it to a customer, I kind of always tell them like, if you don't put the effort in, you don't get the results out. So, we're going to push you hard. We're going to give you a to-do list. We're going to give you homework. If we have a meeting with a client, I always tell them like, okay, here's your homework. It's, like we're
Yeah, yeah.
like in school, right? But, I think that project management, if you will, is a big part of success for a small business. You can't forget things and you can't not have a to-do list for your clients and such.
Okay, lot going on here, lot to unpack. I love the idea of, you want a relationship built on trust. You want documentation, you want to be able to communicate. But the project management piece is kind of what stuck out for me. And I don't know how other firms work, but it would appear that when you're working with a client, you know what you're doing and you know the direction your campaign or your efforts are going towards. Sometimes the client may not be totally involved or not know that. So the project management piece is a big separator, I would assume. Is that how you envision that?
Yeah, that's a great point. So yes, project management is a big part of any agency. The larger the agency, the larger the systems they use for the most part.
Hmm.
We do have a digital system where we do track projects and we can put, due dates and we can put project time estimates and we can assign tasks. But some of our clients aren't all that sophisticated, right? So they don't want to go in and log in and try to see something and try to find something. So, sometimes it's as basic as a Word document that has a list of stuff that's on it so that we can, keep it going. So it depends on the client's, how sophisticated the client is, which is how would determine our output of how well they would get their updates.
Okay. So the way I read this too is no matter what system is in place, the communication between you and your client is the vital key that makes it work. Because whatever project management tracking tool you're using, and whatever they're using. If there's no communication between what you're doing step by step, they don't know what's going on. Or what I've seen a lot within the marketing and client relationship is you're waiting for the client to make a decision, right? You've done something, you've created the test website, you've done a test communication, whatever it may be for a client, and you give it to them and it sits and it sits and it sits. And then they wonder, well, how come we're not getting end results? Well, we've been waiting for 2 weeks for you to answer, do you or do you not like that website, the web page, right? So the accountability in marketing is one of the things that really shines in this conversation right now, Pete, because I think marketing is one of the hardest things for a business to really grab onto because it's hit or miss, right? Your message either hits or it doesn't, and then you have to test and measure the next one to see what you can do to change it. And when you have a client that isn't proactively involved in their own project management, it's really hard to get them to move from step to step. So, how do you do that above and beyond the accountability of marketing that we just talked about? Is there anything else that helps?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to make something really clear right up front is that if you don't do good work, all the communication and all the process behind it doesn't matter. So one of the things that we really take a lot of pride in is that I only work with folks that have, a good amount of experience or a good track record in doing what they're doing. Like, depending on the level of work, sometimes web development ranges from, hey, I want to go from scratch to, completely trying to develop a website that functions in a specific way with specific functionality. We've got a team for that. Some website development or some website management is like, hey, I just want to update this page. And that's a
Mhm.
different level. So I guess kind of back to my point is if you're not doing good work from the get-go, you're not going to have an opportunity to continue to do good work. So we always take a lot of pride, and I take a lot of personal pride in making sure that the projects that are done are first class, professional, the best you can get kind of thing out there. Because we are competing with a lot of small agencies
Sure.
and a lot of big agencies too. So you got to do good work first, and we feel like we've kind of, with my level of experience and the people that I bring on, we're fully capable. To answer the second half of the question is, how do you take it from really, a to-do list to functioning, actioning projects, right? So there are times when, as an agency, you kind of have to take that leap of faith, or if you sit back and wait for your client to make 100% approval on everything, you'll never get anything done. So there are times when we just kind of have to go with it and say, yeah, we published that press release because, we've given you 6 rounds to edit and it was right and it was due and it's out. So there is a little balance in, and they trust you, right? I mean, you're not doing it because you're going around them. You're doing it because you need to get things done. So there's a level of trust there, and you earn that over time. I'd say the average amount of time our clients have been clients is probably around the 4 to 5 year mark.
Oh, wow.
Uh,
Okay.
on average, yeah. I mean, we've had clients that lasted longer, and of course, we've had clients that have acted less amount of time. But we again, I'd rather be small and be more deeper into a client and understanding their needs and being more productive than have a lot of clients that we're real shallow in and not doing the job we need to do.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about what you do and how you approaching this, it's so much more than a transactional relationship, right? You know your clients, you know their ins and outs, or at least what they've been willing to share with you, and you get a chance to create a message. And through the message you're sending, you now start building that trust that goes back to, yeah, it's okay. You sent that press release out. We totally understand why you did it. We trust you because you know us. How is it that you get to know people so well? What is your secret?
Well, I don't know if it's so much as a secret. It's a matter of effort, to be honest. It's having a relationship. Most of the business that we've developed over the years have usually been because of a network or because of a referral of
Hmm.
someone that we've done work for before. So we kind of joke around like, how do you do business development? We call it FOP, Friends of Pete, right? So that's not uncommon in a small business, right? I don't do a lot of Google AdWords for my business and try to get, crazy stuff from all over the place. I mean, I'm real selective in, the client choices that we make because we want to do a good job, right? I kind of have a target of business that I go after. We like a business that's sort of in that $5 to $50 million revenue range that they know
Okay.
they need to do some marketing, but they don't know exactly what they need to do. And maybe they've hired a sales coordinator or possibly a marketing coordinator that does a little bit of Facebook or does a little bit of LinkedIn, but isn't skilled at maybe graphic design or web design. So like a marketing department of one is ideal for us. We love that because there's
Mm,
someone to coordinate on their side. Because if you try to coordinate with a president or even a sales manager, sometimes it's hard to get their attention because they have jobs to do.
yeah.
So a marketing department of one is ideal. And we look at this as sort of like a fractional marketing director or a fractional CMO where you can come to us, we will, address the problem situation, create an opportunity, create a solution, deliver on that solution, and then, measure the results. So again, to answer the question about how do you establish that relationship, it takes time, but it takes a certain amount of effort as well. You need to get to know what your client, what motivates them, why they're hiring you, what does success look like. You need to get all
There
that
you go.
up to really build that trust. So I don't know if there's any magic to it outside of effort and being honest. So putting
No,
the time in.
no, I agree with that. I mean, I just wrote the note down. Time, effort, and performance is what brings you the trust that somebody is willing to give you, right? Because they've been with you for a while, they see what you're doing, and when you perform to the level that you are performing, because the expectations were set, okay, now they trust you to move forward doing that again, right?
Yeah.
That's a really good way of looking at it. And I'm a big believer in performance because that's the metric that you really need to pay attention to, right? What are you doing to perform every day, every
Right.
week, every quarter? So if we have those metrics and we're pushing ourselves to reach them, granted, you're going to be successful because other people see the value of your effort. When it comes to putting all this together, um, 10 years, you've been pretty successful. What is it that you would say is a challenge that you feel very confidently talking about because you had to face it and you worked through it, and on the other side, you realized, damn, that was well worth the effort because now we're better. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Sure. I mean, let's talk frankly about clients. All the clients that we work with, we develop a relationship and we love working with them and they love working with us. But there are times when you're not on the same page.
Mm,
There are times when, we've lost clients. I mean, all agencies have lost clients, but it's generally never something that we've done. It's usually something on their side where maybe somebody retires and they bring in a new team, or someone's as an owner of a business and they bring in a sibling to run the marketing, or perhaps they hire in a new vice president and the vice president already has different opinions and ideas. So we'll lose business, but it's not because we failed. It's because of a different perspective per se, or
mm,
something out of our control. That's always a challenge for us. Another challenge is, industry, right? So what's happening, I should say the economy. What's happening in the economy has a lot to do with our business. We're a small business. So to be quite honest, during COVID, we actually flourished during COVID because a lot of our industrial clients couldn't send their salespeople out
Hmm.
to have one-on-one meetings. So we did a ton of video, a ton of web, a ton of e-marketing, a ton of social. So COVID essentially was good for us in the sense that, we did more work. But then, quite honestly, right now the economy's weird. Our manufacturers we lost a client because their business was down 50%. I mean, you just can't compete with that because of high interest rates, because of tariffs, because of just what was happening in the manufacturing industry and their sector. So, plus interest rates are still high. Some tariffs are still kind of out there. Even though the market's doing well, people are hesitant to spend money. So right now is a challenge. I mean, we have our client base and we survive, of course, and we do well. But could we use more clients? Of course. There's things out of our control that just affect small business, and any small business owner is going to know that. I
Yeah,
try not to have all my eggs in one basket, meaning, try not to be in one specific market or be in one client that dominates. You try to spread it out and diversify yourself. Um, but again, there's a lot out of our control. But then, you bounce back, you find a way. You do different type of networking, you different type of business development, you offer a little different service. That's a big challenge for us. Those things, external things that are out of our control, of course, are a challenge for us. And it's a challenge for any business. Second
yeah.
part of, oh,
Go
go
ahead. No,
ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I say the second part of challenge that's sometimes out of our hands is the freelancers or the contractors that you choose to work with. I've been fortunate to have a handful of contractors that I can trust that will deliver on time, but I've had some where, they'll say they'll do something, they just don't do it, or they'll have some issue or problem that they can't get the work done, and that certainly affects your performance with a client. If they're expecting something on a certain day or date and you don't get it, then obviously that's a problem. So,
Sure.
having a good network of folks to help you is really makes you either make or break you in some cases. So, selecting your team is very important.
Yeah, you've made comment about your team quite a bit, so I want to understand at 360 Marketing, what does your team consist of? How many people are on the team, uh, and what's it look like from just a structural perspective?
Yeah, structural perspective. I mean, I'm essentially, president, chief operating officer, general manager, janitor. You got to do all things when you're an entrepreneur, right? But I rely on a handful of folks that are been with me for a number of years that just produce, time and time again. And when I work with folks that I work with them on contract basis because I'm finding that they want to do work on their time. They want to be flexible. If they have to take a kid to a doctor or if they got a dentist appointment, I have to be flexible with all that. So, I have a content development young man who's just fantastic. He runs a lot of my projects for me. He's very experienced in digital, so he's wonderful. We've got a very experienced graphic designer who does a great job with us. Is great on the industrial B2B type side of things. I've got a video team that can, work things that are small video shorts all the way up to full professional production in studio type things. I've got different levels of web designers. As I mentioned a little earlier, I've got some that'll go full development from the get-go all the way down to, hey, can you add a new picture onto this page type thing?
Yeah,
So, and then I have people that I can call on when I need them. Like I don't need a full-time photographer, but I do have resources where if we do need to do a photo shoot, we've got it. Or good example is crisis communication I mentioned earlier too.
yeah.
Uh, Gentleman that I work with is retired from one of the large agencies, an excellent resource for crisis communication. And when I need him, I just bring him on and we get a plan and work together. And at that point, use him for as long as we need him. And that's acceptable for them and it's acceptable for us. If I keep a full big staff, then, prices go up and you're looking at, layoffs when things aren't good. So we're
Sure.
trying to be as flexible and nimble as we can. But again, picking the right people is the key to that success.
Well, this is an interesting conversation because as you look to grow and scale your business, obviously you build the systems that make sense, and then you bring the right people on board to make it work for you. And what you're describing, and this is no right or wrong answer, I think it works for you, and it's obviously done really well to work for your clientele, and that is you are able to stay small and nimble because of your project management skill set. This is the way I'm looking at it, Pete. You tell me if I'm wrong, but it's easier to coordinate a group of people that work for you W-2 style because you are their boss. But there's some disadvantages because they're a W-2 employee, so their motivation may not be right where it is. not getting into all these details, but that's sometimes what happens with W-2 employees. When you have contracted employees, you don't necessarily control their time. As you said, the flexibility is a huge key for building that team. So your project management skills have to be first class, best in show kind of thing, because I wouldn't say you're herding cats, but you're pretty much herding cats when they don't work for you solely. They've got other projects they can be doing. So getting people in and out of your sphere is a pretty good talent to have. And I appreciate you talking about it because most small businesses could do really well by not expanding so quickly, but finding ways to niche themselves into growth by having contractors in play. So I wanted to just go down that pathway a little bit. How is it that you've been able to maintain that for 10 years?
Great question. You know, uh, it's kind of it's the same thing as building a relationship with a client. You're building a relationship with a vendor, right? I mean, they have to trust you. You have to pay them on time. You have to be very clear in what you expect them to do. You don't just throw something over the fence and have them figure it out. Um, the folks that we work with, they want to know exactly what's expected of them. They want to know exactly what the job entails. They're not detectives. They're not, and then,
Yeah.
they're not paid to be a detective. It'd be one thing if you hired someone to like, okay, figure out this account and tell me what they need to do. I'm not like that. I manage all the accounts. I manage all the projects to the level of, I know what's going on at each client. Now, do I touch every piece of it? No, I'm not the guy that's making the graphic design, and I'm not the guy that's coding the back end, adding a widget into a WordPress site. So that's someone else doing that. But I know what's going on. And I think the key to that is, again, treating them well, almost treating them like their clients, right?
Hmm.
Treat your vendors like their clients, and they'll be loyal to you, right? So, acknowledging them and their personal lives, then acknowledging their challenges. So, it's a respect factor here. And then if you give them respect, they'll give you respect back. Um,
Yeah, these are some really good words because we're talking about trust, right? And we said earlier, trust is really earned through a time, effort, and performance. It rings true for your clientele. They're going to trust you because you've been there, you put in the effort, you perform. Same thing is going to be said about a vendor or a contractor you're using because the effort and time you've put in to work with them and the performance you do together because you do pay them on time because you're a good communicator and you're giving them good direction, they come to know, like, respect, trust you because that's been their experience.
right.
And that, again, Pete, it's not easy to do, it's easy to talk about, but I think people really love overcomplicating things. But if you could just follow a simple formula of take the time and effort to do good work, perform to the metrics that people expect, and communicate, you're going to be a really big winner. I just see that as a whole philosophy that comes out in reality because people want somebody they can know, like, and trust, they can respect, and have a performance metric that is met either above or beyond expectation. Why would you ever want to leave somebody that does that for you, whether it's your client or your contractor, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a level of appreciation you have to have. And again, when I say you need to treat your vendors like their customers,
Mhm.
you're treating them to lunches, or you have a Christmas party, or you're sending them gifts. I mean, you have to have that level of, appreciation in order
Yeah.
to get the respect and the quality of work back.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that. So we've talked a lot about different things here. What would
Mhm.
be a really good lesson that you'd think the audience would need to know or learn from your experience?
Don't give up.
Could be. Okay.
Don't give up. And when I started doing this myself 10 years ago, you get your first client, you make $500.
Mm,
You get and then a month later you make $1,000, and then you're like, oh, I can almost pay a mortgage, right? So keep going, keep going. So it takes a while. Don't give up. The fact that I love the work, I
there
love
you
the
go.
marketing work, I love the marketing challenge, I love solving the problem, I love being creative. If I couldn't do any of that, then it would just be a job. So being self-employed has two things. It makes you much more accountable for your work, okay, as opposed to clocking in somewhere and just sort of maybe doing what you need to do. That accountability, but it's so much more rewarding
Yeah.
to have a business and solve a client's problem and have a client be happy or give you a 5-star Google review. Like that just makes it worthwhile. So as long as we can continue to do that for our clients, keep them happy, give them what they want, you know, kind of go the extra mile when you need to, uh, then you've got a good solution ahead of you. So, our next step is really, I guess I mentioned business development in sort of a weird economic time. Maybe others aren't experiencing that, but I've talked to a lot of other folks right now, and they're telling me that clients are just not spending like they used to. But I imagine it'll come back. So stay with it, stick with it. You know, really just if you put your mind to it and you've got a good system in place, you will do well.
There you go. I like that. The system piece is, in my opinion, one of the simplest things you can do to make sure your business operates. You just have to find that groove, right? And just using you as an example, it's taken 10 years to get to where you are right now. The ups, the downs, the ebbs and flows have all brought you to the point of experience and wisdom that I know this works and this is how I do it, right? You didn't have a dead fast system on day one. Like you said, I was just trying to get $500, right?
Right. You start out small. I mean, you hope it's going to grow, but yeah, it doesn't it take, and it's different for different folks, right? I mean, I think I would have said I was like a full-fledged business maybe 6 months in, let's say.
There you
You know,
go.
I think this can work at 6 months, right? I mean, like, what's the worst case? Is it doesn't work and you go get a job? I mean, you always have an option, but you got to
Sure.
stick with it, right? If you want it to work, you stick with it. So, that's kind of been our, at least my mantra is stick with it, keep working at it, learn as much as you can, right? I mean, in our industry and marketing, everything is changing constantly. With the introduction
Yeah.
of AI, artificial intelligence, and the electronic tools that are out there now, I mean, a marketing department could do nearly all of their own stuff with the digital tools that are available now. Between video editing and the cell phones are amazing now. The equipment's
Yeah.
amazing. Software is amazing. AI is amazing. So you really have to be unique in the things that you do and that you offer. So, we're always learning. We're always moving ahead. One thing I want to touch on, Scott, and I don't want to change the topic too much here, but
You're good.
there's a book called The E-Myth, and The E-Myth is a book about somebody working in their business versus
Hmm.
somebody working on their business. That's always something in the back of my mind as I grow the business. I am essentially working in the business. This is my job. This is what I do, but I have a passion for it. I love doing it. I don't necessarily have, goals to be a huge agency with, 20 people. That's not my goal. So there's a sort of balance of how much do you work in your business versus how much you work on your business. And as an entrepreneur, as you get through some of the years that you're doing it, you do have to plan for, an exit strategy. You do have to plan for
Yeah.
how do I work with these contractors that have been with me so long and what's in it for them. So it's sort of that phase two or plan B is, you know, where do you see this headed in the long term? And I don't necessarily have that figured out 100%. But, I do like the growth and I do like the folks I'm working with and I love the work. So right now it's a good combination or a good equation, if you will.
It sounds like you've got it figured out to this point. The next
Yes.
thing is figuring out what you're going to do next. And that's,
Right. Right.
you're not alone. I think one of the bigger challenges is people don't have a really good grasp of what do they want to be when they grow up as a business, right?
Right.
Right? They
Yeah.
started it thinking, I love what I do. This is really fun. And again, going back to the E-Myth, I'm a really good technician. I know what I'm doing in this technical field, but I have no idea how to do all these other things. Holy moly, there's a lot of drinking from a fire hose. How do I do this? And over time, like I said, through learning, experience, you gain wisdom, you figure stuff out, and then you realize, okay, I've been doing this for a couple of years. I'm actually pretty good at this. Now what? Right? Because you never thought I was going to be some big, huge success. You just said, I just want to make my mortgage.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Right.
so sometimes it's about embedding that dream earlier on so you have something to get to because your brain will follow your dream. You just have to write it out, right? You just have to figure out what your dream is.
Right.
This has been great, Pete. I love this conversation, and it's been you won't believe it, but it's been almost 30 minutes.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay.
Final question for you. And I
Sure.
love asking this question because I think it's interesting to see how people respond. So I'm going to place you in a time machine and send you back, and you will meet 18-year-old Pete. You two sit down on a park bench. What's that conversation like?
Oh, wow. That is a good question. Um, I think when I was younger, I was very conservative in my decisions about life, right?
Mm,
Um, get a job, work hard, get married, that kind of thing. I
yeah.
think if I were to go back into time and give myself some advices, I would encourage myself to take more risks.
Okay.
Do the things that you wouldn't think you could do, or go to the places you wouldn't think you would go. I've been very fortunate in my career that I've worked for some large companies that have been able to allow me to like travel around the world doing marketing. I got to see a lot of things that I don't think that maybe most folks have in their careers. I've been to most of the continents, so that was an eye opener for me. Is that there's stuff beyond your own
Mhm.
sort of uh, area. So if I had advice, and I've been fortunate to be able to do that and work for some great companies. So if I were to give advice to my future self, I'd say take the risks, try something different. Don't be afraid to fail. It's always going to work out no matter what. Um, you sometimes have a fear that something's not going to work. You might not do it. Who
Yep.
cares? Go do it. Take the risk. Take the chance. Go hard. And if you fail, so what? Because again, as they say, if one door closes, another window opens. So I've lived through that for 30 years, let's say, and that would be my advice.
I love it. That's great advice, especially the take the risk,
Take
right?
the risk.
Just,
You got
just,
nothing to lose. Take the risk.
well, when you find yourself in a position to jump, jump.
Yeah, yeah,
Take the
you're
risk.
right. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of and I see this and there's a lot of fear in, starting a business or fear in losing a job or how am I going to pay the mortgage or what am I going to do for healthcare? It always works out.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it always works out one way or another, and generally it's positive, So just uh, take the chance, don't be afraid, go for it.
Love it. Pete, thank you so much for being on the show. All the information to get in touch with Pete and his team at 360 Marketing will be in the description down below. So please, I encourage people to get in touch. And I want to thank you, Pete, for being on the program. Until next time, we'll see you on the Legacy Leaders.
Thanks, Scott.